Ladies and gentlemen, if you are in the webinar right now, prepare to launch. We're going to have a great night together as we prepare to engage those we support in our lives with some phenomenal techniques that I like to use in my own personal coaching. So my name is Doug Castillo. I'm the leader of Leadership Integration Simplified, also the creator of Coach Lead Grow Academy. And I'm really excited to share with you the techniques that I've used and mastered over the last 15 years to engage clients, employees, even tools and techniques you can engage with your children, your spouse, your family members in a way that really draws them in and simultaneously helps give them confidence, greater connection, and a sense of value. So for right now, what I want you to do is just go ahead and check out some of the room, get curious about some of the technology. I'm going to also encourage, as you enter the room, to take a look in the right-hand side of the screen. The right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a chat window. If you see the chat window off to the right-hand side, at the very bottom, go ahead and take a moment and type in your name and where you are coming in from. I'm coming in from Salt Lake City, Utah. Of course, I am Doug. It's a great opportunity for you just to get used to and navigate around this technology. Some people come into the room and they're like, wait, this is not what I'm used to. This is not Zoom. For you today, I will encourage you to just take a look around a little bit and start with a little bit of a chat. Tell me where you're from. We still have a few minutes before we get started. Just take a look around here as we wait for the rest of the team to join us. All right. Ahead and get started. We'll do a little bit of the layout of the land to get you familiarized with the technology we're using here today. Looks like we got Lamont in from Sandy. Welcome. Gabe, happy day to you as well. Leanne, you're coming in from a comfy chair. That sounds pretty exciting. Carolee, welcome in from Sandy. I love that. I'm excited to have you in tonight as I'm going to be sharing with you some really cool techniques and tools that have really assisted me over the years. So let's start off and just get a little bit of training on this new technology so we're familiar. Bonnie and Leland, awesome. Thank you. Welcome in from Spanish Fork. All right, so let's take a look at the around a little bit. So off to the right-hand side, you're going to see a chat window, all right? So you'll see on your main frame our slides that we're going to be moving through here today. Cody's coming in from Draper. Awesome. Thank you, Cody. I love having you on board. So off to the right-hand side, you've got the chat, the polls, and the handouts. You should see 3 tabs depending on what the devices you're using, as far as you're on a handheld device or you're on a laptop. That will depend on a little bit of layout of the land, so look for this. There are 3 different tabs that you'll find there. Now, we will be doing a poll about halfway through. I want to survey seeing what your thoughts on are a couple things, all right? So you'll see the chat tab, the poll tab, and the handout tab. And know that when we run the poll, the chat tab's still there. You just got to click back to it. So that's the orange arrow. If you look to the green arrow, this is where if you don't like to see that chat window off to the right-hand side, you can collapse it down. You can also make it a floating window if you prefer. It just depends on how you're logging in, all right? So that will give you a little bit of layout of the chat. I'm going to encourage you to interact with today. I want to hear a lot of your thoughts. Today's not just to sit back and enjoy the podcast, the video podcast. Today is a training webinar in which I hope to send you away with some phenomenal tools that you can immediately plug into your life, into your level of influence, leadership, and if you own a coaching business, this is a phenomenal tool that you will use to level up your coaching business in supporting others, all right? So a little bit more, you'll notice in the orange arrow on the screen indicates an opportunity for you to maximize your screen. So this is something, if you're on a floating window and you need this to go big screen, go ahead and click that button there. Right next to that button, you'll find a little gear icon. If for whatever reason you can't hear me right now, you may want to test your audio, make sure that your speakers are turned on. Also, I do like to add here that there are times when my mouth is not synced up with the audio. It's usually the internet, your local internet challenge, trying to catch up, trying to bridge the difference here as everybody's watching Netflix right now. We are at the mercy of the internet, and we are beneficiaries to the fact that we can sit home and have an engaging training together and learn to connect. So again, a little bit of layout of the land. I'm going to also encourage you to close out any other tabs that may be going on, maybe your email tab. This would be a great time to silence your cell phones, just to be really present right here, right now, ready to engage in the training. Fair enough? So that's a little bit of layout of the land. Again, just one more thing. You'll notice that there is a slide deck at the very bottom, and then you'll see a kind of a picture-in-picture where my picture is at the top. You'll see the streaming video at the top. Some people prefer to see that. Plus, I'm very animated, so I hope you will not get bored with today's training. Especially the content is rich and really exciting. If that window is occupying a little bit more space than you'd like, off to the right-hand side of that picture, that video at the top, there'll be a plus or a minus sign. You can actually click the minus sign and I'll go really little. And then you can click the plus sign and you're gonna see a little bit more of Doug, all right? So that's another little bit of the layout that may be beneficiary to you, may benefit you in your training here today. Now I'm gonna tell you this. This is new technology to all of us. My job is to teach you solid content today. And that may mean I'm not a specialist in all of this content or the specialist in the technology, but bear with me. I've got some good practice under my belt, so I'll take really good care of you. So Carolee, I love seeing more of Doug. Well, I wish I could see more of you, and I'm going to cash that compliment fully in. So thank you and welcome to the 5-Minute Coaching Solution. This is, I like to call, the #1 skill of effective leadership. Whether you are a manager at work, whether you're interacting with your clients as a coach, a professional coach, whether you are collaborating with your coworkers, anytime you are dealing with people, yes, also when you can take this home and utilize this with your spouse and your children, this is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So today you're going to get the inside secrets of top coaches and leaders that naturally inspires others to personal responsibility and growth, achieving incredible results a lot faster. I get the question a lot of the times like, okay, Doug, what is the secret of being a great coach? I'm going to spill that secret here today in this webinar. In addition, I'm going to show you how to invest the best 5 minutes into anyone you want to support and influence in your life. I'm going to give you a step-by-step formula that you can use right after this training is finished. And it's a technique that I use in my coaching every day. I used it even to this morning. I had 2 coaching appointments with 2 different executives. And this technique you're going to be learning today, I use in my coaching, all right? And more importantly, I take it home and invest in my spouse, in my family, and my friends in a way that I can help leverage my influence with them and help them to feel more valued. If that's something that sounds pretty interesting to you, I want you to go down to the right-hand corner of the room. You're going to see that chat window down below where a few of you have chat in where you're from and a few compliments. You're going to see a little emoji there, a little smiley face in the chat bar itself where you would be typing. I want you to go ahead and just click on the hand raise symbol. If it's like, man, this sounds pretty interesting to me. I'm really glad I'm here. Gabe's got a thumbs up. There's a lot of really cool emojis in there. And so anytime throughout the journey, if you're really enjoying something, give that a thumbs up. If you're really getting an aha moment, that'd be a fun way to just correspond and interact with each other here today. All right, so there is something that brought you here today. What is it that brought you here today? Why might influencing and supporting others be important to you? You're investing your evening, about an hour of your evening to increase and level up your level of influence and support with others. What is that for you? So take a moment here right now. I know some of you maybe are eating dinner. Just kind of reach over that and type in a little bit of why might this be important for you to invest your time today? Now, for some of you, maybe you're a professional coach. It's what you do, and you're ready to level up your skill set. You're ready to alleviate some of that anxiety that some of us coaches get when we think, oh, I've got to have the right answer right now, all the time. And that can be a little bit challenging. Or maybe you're a parent struggling with a child, and you want to empower them to take greater responsibility for this current season of their life. I want you to think about it. What is it for you? What brought you here today that would encourage you to want to increase your influence? Now, maybe you're in a new position at work, whether you're in a management role or just another role in your career, and you want to collaborate more with the people around you. Maybe that's the reason why you're interested in today. Or you may just love people. I love people, and you just want to connect more. So I want you to be thinking about, why might influencing and supporting others be an important feature for you today? What brought you here today? Bonnie says, I'm improving our mentoring knowledge. Always great to have another tool in your tool belt. Gabe, to elevate those around me at home and at work. Tyler, starting a career as a manager and a leader. I want to gain more tools and skills. Gosh, today I'm going to give you the best of the best. I'm so excited about that. Lamont, better connection on a deeper level. There's nothing else we can do better than connecting with the people around us, in my opinion. Cody's like all the way about the previous comments there. Carol Lee, curious about what, I'm just here because I'm curious about what Doug's going to share. Maybe I heard that it was going to be good. I love that. Looking ways to help others grow. Cody, connecting, networking, relationship building, continuing to learn and grow throughout life. I love that. Great reasons for us to be chiming in today. And I love it because I get to learn more each and every time as well. So thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you taking that time. I know at first it's like, really, are we going to interact this way? Yes, we are going to be interacting today. That's my hope. It's going to be a lot of fun. So now the question is, okay, that's good and well, but what might be stopping you from investing more time and energy into these relationships? Chances are, if you're anything like me, when I think about investing more in those relationships around me, first off, it's like, I don't even know what to say. Like, especially if I've known the person for a long time and we haven't gotten to know each other really deep. Why now? Like, how do I open this conversation? Or maybe I'm just stuck with the default set of questions. How are you? How's your family? Or the new 2020 model, how are you surviving the pandemic? Or working from home, how's that going? If you're caught up in that set of questions, maybe that brought you here today is to give you a little bit more interesting questions to be asking. Not that those aren't interesting, but this is really common that most of us hold back just a little bit from investing time and energy in our relationships because either we don't know how, or maybe we got burned in the past. So for you, take a moment and write in what might have stopped you in the past or currently from really investing more time and energy into your coworkers, into even strangers that are coming into your life, new clients, friends, family members, even yourself. So what has been holding you back? And I want you to be thinking about that here today and take a moment and chat that into the window. I want you to know that, okay, maybe Tyler's entering something in and somebody goes, oh, that's mine too. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad that I'm not alone. Okay, fear of rejection. What if I lean in with all these mentoring skills that Bonnie talked about? And they're kind of like, no, now who are you? Like, no, get out of my business. Tyler is like, I want to be more, I'm more introverted and I'm more scared to open up. So that can hold you back, definitely, from investing time and energy. Man, for introverts, that can be a real big challenge, especially as we move into more a global commerce and world with expansive knowledge. it feels like we're required on a greater level to interact with others. And again, that can be really challenging for introverts. So Tyler, I appreciate you sharing that. Cody's past experiences, just the fear of repetition of that happening over and over again. So that I'm excited that you're joining me here today and at least pushing through and engaging in curiosity for a moment to at least be open to some of the tools I want to share with you. Now, we all want to, if you're anything like me, you want to solve other people's problems and our own problems. We commonly fear, at least for myself, is what if I have the right answer this time and then they come back because I helped them that first time and they have another challenge, but it's bigger and I don't have the solution. And now they're going to find out that I'm a fraud. Today is about eliminating that fear that coaches and leaders and parents have of feeling like an imposter that maybe we don't have all the solutions. And if they come to us and they find out we don't know it all, that could leave us feeling a little bit vulnerable. And so today I want to give you and arm you with a tool that will help you to walk into any conversation with greater confidence and peace. If that sounds something that you are interested in, I want you to go ahead and chat in the window. Yes. Just the word yes or a hand raise. You can use those emojis. Those are a lot of fun. So if that sounds interesting to you, I want you to chat in a good old hearty yes. So again, get familiar with the technology. I would highly encourage you to take notes here today. There's a lot of information I want to share with you. And if you stay to the end, I'll have an opportunity for you. I want to share with you my complete 5-minute coaching guide. It's all the information I couldn't cram into an hour webinar that I still would like to offer you. It contains the easiest and the best ways to lead people through growth and success. It's this guide here that contains over 100 questions and techniques, case studies that will help you, that I've really amassed over the last 15 years of coaching, and I use it. You can use it in any instant. Read through it, and I promise you, if you engage in it, you'll be able to plug and play this and help others, the people you lead, your clients, your friends, your family members, to grow, achieve, and overcome any challenge. And they will turn to you and accuse you of being some kind of wizard. How did you find that solution, right? So it's basically a collection of experiences that I've distilled down to a very simple tool. And again, I use it on a daily basis with my executive clients that I work with. And I've taught many leaders and executives. See, I work with leaders in a corporate environment. I work with other coaches to help them to elevate their coaching business itself. I also work with just individuals that turn to me, friends and family members that I've helped in the past to find greater solutions to some of their challenges. And this is something that's easily worth hundreds of dollars. I could easily throw it out there for $200 and justify that kind of price. You stick with me to the end, and I'm going to give it to you for free. All right. The 5-minute coaching guide is something I feel will really elevate your level of influence in your life, whether, again, it's with those in your home or at work or with yourself. All right. And there is a catch. All right. There is a catch. One is you have to stay to the end. Two is, just as a thank you for attending, and I send this to you, if you choose to utilize it, which I encourage you to do, that's part of the catch. You're going to go out and you're going to use this technique and you're going to see how effective it is. And you'll actually be surprised on how people respond. When that happens, all I'm asking you to do is send me back a short email, just an email about your experience. And if you're willing, allow me to share that email or a version of that email as a testimonial. If you're willing to just share it with me, how did it go? And if you're willing to allow me to share that testimonial with others, then it's yours. Now, you're not obligated to that, but it's pretty exciting. In fact, I was sharing with a group of corporate VPs back in January, the very tool I'm going to share with you today, along with the packet of information. Immediately after, I said, great, let's do this. Get into pairs. You're going to now practice utilizing the 5-minute coaching strategy with each other. 2 VPs sit with each other. They've been working together for 15 years. They knew each other quite well. They worked side by side, right? And after 5 minutes of utilizing the skills that you're about to learn, afterwards, I'm like, hey, what did you share? Or what did you find out? They're like, I can't believe I've known this person for so long, and I just learned something incredibly new from them. Their partner across from them is like, yeah, I feel even more connected, more willing and wanting to collaborate with this person, and I already love them. How is this possible that we've never talked about these things right here, right now? And the truth is, they just didn't have the tools. And a lot of us just don't have the time or the energy, or maybe no one has shared that with them. So let's jump on in here. If you're ready to jump on in and into the content, again, I want you to go to the corner pocket there, and let's put a heart now this time. Go ahead and click on the heart and say, I'm ready. That's going to be giving us, I'm ready, I'm loving it, I'm open. And so today, let's start with a little bit of a story. So the story begins with a movie, an old movie, Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster movie called Maverick. If you are familiar with this movie or you've seen that movie, again, I want you to go to give it a thumbs up. So if you are familiar with the Maverick, so the Mel Gibson character plays the Maverick. It's an old Western movie, and he basically finds himself in an unwelcomed poker table that has a bunch of gunslinging outlaws sitting around the table, and he wants to sit down. Well, they are not having it. They pull the chair in so he can't sit next to the damsel there, played by Jodie Foster. And he pauses, and he's like, I got money. He's got all these poker chips and money and stuff. And they're like, you're not welcome here. He pauses and says, well, I'll tell you what. If you let me play, I promise to lose for at least an hour. You're probably familiar with this scene, right? The chair slides out. He has a seat, and he proceeds to play poker with these outlaws and proceeds to pretty much throw away chips, losing hand after hand after hand. Now, my question to you is this. What do you think he was doing for that hour? Take to the chat box. Give me a guess. What do you think he was doing for that hour while he was losing chips? Sure, it cost him some money, and it cost him an hour. But what critical information was he gathering during that time? Any guesses? It's a great scene. Carolee, he's watching for the tells. Now, instead of him focusing on his hand, focusing on winning, focusing in on his game, he was there reading, paying attention, finding out what drives each and every person at the table. Studying, Bonnie says. Yeah, he's studying. And he's investing an hour here. After the hour, he checks his time and is like, oh, cool. And he starts to sweep the table because now he knows how everyone operates. How many of us even invest an hour in the people in our lives that we bump into on the regular basis? Or even the people that we spend a lot of time with, let alone even 5 minutes? And that's the good news, is using what you're going to learn here today. It's not going to cost you an hour, simply something as small as 5 minutes if you're willing to invest a little bit of time. This tool of insight and connection is simply one simple tool, and that is the power of quality questions. Now, the Mel Gibson character is probably asking himself questions of what drives that person. Okay, is that hand good? How can I read their body language? Why did they just do this? Today, you're going to actually learn quality questions that you can ask the people that you are working with, that you want to influence, and they're going to be pack and play, ready to go for you. Now, the power of quality questions is only one part. They only work if they're followed by real curious listening. It's a tool that you're going to learn today. It's called the Curious Five. Like the Curious Five come walking into town down those dusty western streets. The Curious Five is just simply 5 minutes of getting curious. Now, as a leader who's facilitating growth in others, which I hope each and every one of you recognize yourself as a leader, you don't have to have all the right answers. What? I don't have to. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to have all the answers. In the early days of my career, I thought, man, I got to know all the answers. I got to be this coach and this confidant, this guru. Until I realized my job was to have all the right questions. In fact, the best gauge of the quality of your leadership is based on the quality of your questions. That makes all the difference. Bottom line, when I engage you with quality questions and then ask you some version of like, hey, tell me more, it shows that I care about you and that I value you. CEO of once, now retired CEO of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, Cheryl Bachelder, she says, I came into this business with one focus, and that is to get to know my people. Because she has a mantra, I must know you to grow you. In order to grow the business, in order to grow others, our children, our coworkers, to collaborate, we got to know them. In order to know them, we've got to be able to talk to them, ask about them. And that is a critical piece of influence. When I know you and understand how you think, then I can understand how to help you to find your own solutions and empower you to the next level. And that's what we're going to be jumping in here today. It's the single most powerful tool that we can have is the quality of our questions, and then have real listening, have quality listening, right? So what you find is using questions rather than other methods of influence like brainstorming, problem solving, and just telling somebody what to do. When you ask quality questions, it takes people out of resistance and into what we call psychological safety. It helps them to own their own solutions as well, which is pretty exciting. And then when we couple that with being a great listener, it means that we really care about them and we search for greater meaning on what drives that person, what's really important to them. And then we can end up really influencing the people around us, much like the Mel Gibson character in this scene. So this is what the 5-minute coaching solution is all about. Today, we're going to be jumping into 3 different tools that will overlap. One is what I call investing time in others 5-to-1. It's a ratio 5-to-1. I know the 2 is there. It's on purpose. I'm going to explain that here in a moment. But it's investing in others 5-to-1. We'll talk more about that. Then I'm going to teach you a tool called the Curious 5 when you want to get to know someone and how they operate, how they tick. Then I'm going to also, by the end of today, share with you what is called the Curious 5 Value Investing Formula. Stick around again to the end because I'm going to be sharing a lot of questions throughout this presentation that you're probably writing down vigorously throughout the presentation. And please do, I'm going to tell you, it's also going to be in the guide at the end. But you got to stick around, download the guide at the end. That's what's in it for you, all right? So let's go ahead and jump into the first piece here of investing in others. So the time investing in others, a lot of times we go and we ask somebody a question, let's take a typical question, like, how was your day, and they share about their day. And then we're so eager to share about our own day that we take all this time and we invest in them 1 minute and then we take 5 minutes. That's an investment of 1 to 5. I want you to listen to me while I'll tell you my long story. If you know someone like that, go ahead and raise your hand. Again, going down to the window. If you know somebody that's like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to hear the long version of the story. Yeah, of course, you're going to raise your hand there. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is we're going to flip this on its head. And just supposing for a moment you started investing in others with curious questions. And I know that right now it's like, well, I don't know the questions, right? Okay, Cody's full disclosure. That's me all the way, right? We're all there in some regards of our relationship. But what happens when we're actually asking curious questions is people love to talk about themselves. And when they do, they feel seen, they feel validated, and they feel safe with that person that seems to be investing in them. It's the number one key to building rapport, is ask people about themselves, get them talking about themselves. And this is the thing, when I talk about myself with you, I feel like you care and that you're investing in me. You're investing time and energy and curiosity. And when I feel like you care, I feel more safe with you. Here's a little sales technique, a little sales tip for all of those in sales. And we're all in sales. We're selling concepts. We're selling our children on cleaning their room. And we're selling ourselves, of course. But people buy from people they like. If you want to get great at, not phenomenal at sales, get phenomenal at asking curious questions. And that's what today is about, all right? So that's what we're going into. So now I do like to level this first step up, the 5-to-1 ratio. The 5 minutes of curious questions, I want to bump that up and say we want to also have quality questions. Because there's really a difference between just getting curious, doesn't quite cut it. But if it's a quality question, then we can really kind of take that to the next level. So let's take a little poll here. Take a break off. Take a look at the right-hand side. Let's go ahead, and I am going to release a poll right now. And the question is how do you like your job? There's some choices there. You'll see the poll tab pop up. When you see that pop up, go ahead and click on the response to the question. How do you like your job? All right, you may think it's good, it's fine, or what job? I'm on furlough, or I'm looking for a job, or maybe it's like, I love my job, or it's like, oh, I just wish I was doing something else. Okay, so I have a lot of love it's that are going on here. That's awesome. I got one, I'm like, I wish I was doing something else. Or it's just fine. Okay, this is awesome. So here's an example of a question that is okay. All right, so remember again, take a moment and click back to the chat tab. So you're on the poll tab. Chances are you're on the poll tab. Click back on the chat tab. So here's an example of a question that's not great. We get locked in on these questions. How's your day? Well, I don't know this to be true. I have not looked at scientific studies, but I believe 75% of the time, how's your day? It gets responded with good or fine, And then sometimes people say, It's not great. And then we're like, oh my gosh, now we got to talk about this, right? Well, why did we ask in the first place? Are we even curious about someone's day? How do you like your job? I'm going to tell you at this point, I don't really know much about this group because the question really, it was curious, but it wasn't really quality. I get that actually a lot of individuals in this space, this room right now, really love their job. That's awesome. That's exciting. Now I'm really curious. I want to know what you do. But let's take a look at a little bit of better example. So I want you to be thinking for a moment, what would be a better way to ask this question? And it may start with, well, what am I curious about with this person? What do I want to know? But what would be an example of a better question? So let's take a little a sneak peek in here. And I want you to answer me this question. What do you love most about your work environment or what you do, the nuts and bolts of your career? I want you to answer me this question now. Now, you'll notice it's not actually a poll that pops up. If you're like, where's the poll? Where's the poll? It's because I don't know what your responses are, and I'm excited to find out. Take a moment here right now, enter your response into the chat window. What do you love most about your work environment? Maybe the work culture. Maybe it's about the new scenario, working from home or remotely, or the nuts and bolts of what you do. I love to engage with people. I am naturally a curious person. So for me, I love the ability of really opening my mind to so many different lifestyles. What would that be for you? And this is something, again, that I seek to get to know more about you and the team with each other. That's a really great feature there as well. All right, so Lamont, I get to work with people who are committed to continuous growth. And I got more questions there, right? Kurt, Ivy, welcome. I get to watch people get the aha moment. Ooh, now again, I get more curious as I hear more answers. Much better than, oh, my job is fine. Gabe, my team's willing to work together. I like this question. What does your typical day look like at work? Ooh, that's a good question. I love that because it starts painting a picture of how somebody operates as well as what works best for them. Bonnie, I love synergy, working with people one-on-one, working with them through mentoring. Gosh, I am really excited to hear about what you're doing, Bonnie, with mentoring. Since you've done a lot of work with us at Outlook and you and I have worked together, I'm just excited for what you are doing, what Leland is doing. I know he's a natural mentor as well. So Leland, I love having you on board as well. Kara Lee, I get to help others find a good bed and help nonprofits with beds. This is incredible, the work that you do, Kara Lee. And I'm fortunate to know what you do in providing beds for people who need them. Nothing better than that, right? So let's take a moment. What would be a more effective version of this question? How do you like your job? So instead of like, how do you like your job? What might be a more effective version of that question? So I really want your gears to be turning here. Go to the chat window. What would be a better version of this question? I'm going to give you a lot of ideas in the webinar here in a moment, but take a stab at it. Take a risk here. Tyler, back to what do you love about your job? I get to help frontline hospitals work with PPE. Gosh, Tyler, yes. What an incredible job right now for those who are critical workers right now. And there's so many people on the front lines there. And you get to really help with that on the front lines. Really cool stuff. So let's take a look at some alternate versions of this question. Lamont says, what part of your job do you look forward to and what part do you dread? What part do you dread? Wow, what a cool way to find out more about how somebody ticks, how somebody operates. This is what I'm talking about here, what I love about my job, because when I start looking at these questions that I'm asking or how you're responding to questions, it's giving me, if I pay attention, it's giving me a window into how you think, how you feel, even the emotions you might be experiencing at this point in your career, at this point of your day. Here's the catch. It also, or the key, it's also going to tell me what's going on in the subconscious for you in relation to your work and your personal life. And this is the cool thing about effective questions that I apply to one of the most powerful tools that I use as a coach. In fact, I use Curious Question in combination with two other powerful tools. One is called the 5 Vital Steps to Results. It's something that helps us to understand, as coaches, as leaders, understand how people operate, why they do and don't do anything. What would it be like for you to have insight in your children or in your spouse, your family member, your coworkers, in your employees or your boss, in understanding why they do and don't do what they do? And if you had that kind of insight and were able to utilize what we're learning here today to help influence them, what would that be like for you in your life? So these 5 vital steps basically lead us to all the results we get in our lives. And Curious Questions is the fuel that moves the engine forward. Pretty cool stuff. And stick around, because at the very end today as well, or you may be already registered. A few of you already know are registered for next week. All right, so a week from today, I'm going to be sharing with you these 5 vital steps to results and my inside secrets to insight of what goes on in the subconscious mind to help us to break some of the cycles of the results that we don't love and to help others do the same. So stay tuned. It's August 6th. There's going to be a midday one for those who want to grab lunch and then have some really good training at 10 a.m. And there's another one going to be at 6:30, much like we're doing here today. If you love the content, you're going to really love plugging in what you learn here today into what we're going to be covering in a week. All right. So let's take a look at some other great alternate questions. Kurt Ivy, what excites you about your day? Ooh, that's good. Getting into that, the passion. Carol Lee, what's the best part of your job? Okay, so really getting down into the nitty gritty there. Bonnie, what's the best thing that happened to you while you were at work? So now we're starting to highlight how they operate, what they look for in a job as far as the things that really drive them. Love this. Great job on taking a stab at some really quality questions there. So the 5-to-1 ratio, we're investing 5 minutes of curious quality questions in the person that we want to support. Then I want to tell you this. What do we commonly do when we are listening to someone's response to a question? Gosh, if you're anything like I was, I'm thinking about my response that I'm going to now say next while you're talking. And if I'm thinking about my response while you're talking, I'm not listening. And if you've ever been in that boat along with me, I want you to go ahead and raise your hand. This would be something to say, yep, I've been there before. I've thought about what I'm going to say while they were talking before. And that kind of defeats the point a little bit, because while they're talking, we're like, meanwhile formulating a question. So this is the 2 of the 5-to-1 ratio, is between questions, between responses, I would say, is I want you to allow 2 seconds before you pose the next question. So you ask a question, they're answering the question, you're listening, and then they finish, and then you, 1001, 1002, as you think about what their response really meant to you and what would be the next question you'd want to ask. Imagine being engaged in a conversation with someone who really thought before they asked the next question, really considered. Now, of course, through those 5 minutes, we can be like, oh, wow, that's very interesting. And just little filler validation statements. But just know, take the time to really get curious here and think. So the 5-2, now we get to the 1. The 1 is now where we get to share a little bit about what we thought about what they said. Again, we're investing 5 minutes on their part, 1 minute of sharing. This is where you might want to add suggestion to them or validate them, like, wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that about you. This is where we want to help them to feel seen. This might be a great opportunity for us as well to make a suggestion on whatever they're currently talking about that may benefit them. Bonus points if you make the suggestion in the form of a question. Like, that's the real. Have you ever thought about, and then we give our suggestion. Or what would be another way? Have you ever thought about seeking out a mentor who's done what you're wanting to do? And hey, do you know anyone like that? Are you open to some of my suggestions on some mentors? These are all great questions that, once again, keep somebody out of resistance and into feeling validated in that zone of psychological safety, feeling really seen. So it looks like, yeah, for sure, a lot of you are like, yep, I've been there where I've been listening to someone, but not really listening to someone. So now I want to share with you, how do we take the 5-to-1 ratio and plug it into 2 different scenarios? The first scenario is, let's just say I've got somebody new at work, or a new client that I'm working with, it doesn't even have to be somebody new. It could be somebody I've known for 15 years. That I want to get to know them more. Going back to that quote, I must know you to grow you. Man, I want to grow someone. I want to support and influence the people in my life. And so therefore, I'm going to apply the Curious 5, know you to grow you. So let's walk through this step by step. And again, helpful if you're taking notes, as you hear some questions that really intrigue you, write them down. Things that you want to directly apply. All right. So there are a few steps to the Curious 5, know you to grow you. First off, I like to start with an invitation and creating a little bit of safety. What that really means is, instead of just diving in of like, hey, I'm just gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions, it may kind of put somebody back on their heels thinking, what's going on? Like, why are you suddenly so interested? It's kind of like that friend who calls you up that you haven't talked to maybe for months or years, and they're like, "Hey, Doug, how you doing?" "Good, good, yeah." "How's your family?" "They're good, good." And I'm answering, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why are you calling, And so what I like to do here at this invitation and safety point is just simply ask them, "Hey, I'd love to get to know you better. Can I ask you a couple questions?" And by the way, I'm a very curious person. So if I ask you anything that you don't want to answer, just simply say pass and we'll move on. Fair enough? So it's a simple invitation, and it creates a little bit of safety. It says, "Hey, I just want to get to know you." That statement in and of itself, put a heart in the chat window if you would be flattered if somebody just says, "Hey, can I ask you, I'd just like to get to know you a little bit more. Can I ask you a couple more questions?" Man, I'd be like, "Yeah, sure. Like, let's get some popcorn. Let's make a day of it." So just that first question is just an invitation for safety. And don't worry, all these questions are in the guide at the end that you can download. All right, so next I move into some kind of opening or prompting question that gets the ball going. Now, I have a couple favorite questions. It could be as simple as, say, what do you really wish you had the courage, time, money, and passion to do? Like, give me something that you really wish you had that energy and the resources to do. Or what is one of your big dreams that you always wanted to be or do when you were younger and when you grew up, right? What was that big dream that you ever wanted? And these are great questions here that if we really put our mind to it, it's like, wow, okay, I don't know. And give them some space, give them some time here. Or who or what in your life has had the greatest influence? Ooh, juicy question, right? Do you think you might get to know someone, even somebody who lays next to you every night in bed, a little bit more if you asked one of these questions? How many of you are loving these questions? If that's the case, you're going to find a little bit of a celebration horn. Woohoo! I'm loving these questions. I'm wanting to write those down. Or it's a bouquet of flowers. It's one of the two. That Cody is for you. A little bouquet of flowers. All right, so we've got some good prompting questions. Now we want to actually dig deeper. If you were on the video podcast a week ago, I gave you some great questions to dig deeper. This is going to even to the nth degree. So we're really now wanting to ask deepening questions. I don't like the word probing. Nobody wants to be probed, but really digging deeper. It's basically any version of the question of tell me more. And in the back of my mind, it helps to think, what's really important to this person? So maybe they're talking about their uncle that really influenced them in their life. And I'm thinking, man, what do they really value? What are they really saying about their uncle? Because that's going to prompt me to say, ooh, tell me more about that. Or what did your uncle do for a living that really brought him to understand life in that way that influenced you so much? Or just simply, I'm interested. Give me more details. It's amazing if we allow someone to share what we'll find out and discover about them. You'll be amazed. And then we wrap up our Curious 5 with simply a vote of confidence, validation, advice. Validation would be like, man, that's interesting. I did not know that about you. Or wow, that sounds like that would be really awesome. Or how influential. Can I connect with your uncle as well? Or it could be simply a vote of confidence, being like, wow, that seems like a pretty ambitious goal. Or man, that sounds really hard. But you know what? Seems like you got it figured out. Or how can I support you? And at this point, you can also give them advice. Bonus points if it's in the form of a question. It could be simply like, hey, how could you take the first step and really commit to your dream and your goal that you've always wanted to do? Just some simple questions here. Now, actually quite a few of you I've interacted with. Those who are on today, quite a few have interacted with me. You may hear some of these questions as I'm sharing with you, and you're like, oh, he's used that with me. It's because I use these questions all the time. These are phenomenal. And I want you to ask yourself this question. If you've worked with me, if you are one of my clients or a friend or family member, and you're like, man, Doug really cares about me. He asks me a lot of questions. If that's true for you, this is what I'm using here. The truth is I really do care about you. I really want to know you. I want to know what makes you tick, because that's how I can help you to grow. That's the whole point here. So already, how many of you by raise of hands are like, already I can use this? Like, this is something I can totally use. If you feel like you could use a few things we just shared here, immediately after this call or tomorrow when you clock back into work, I want you to give a raise of hands. This is just getting to know someone. Now, what happens when we are in a mentorship role, which it doesn't matter if you're a coworker, you could use these questions here to really support your boss, the people in different departments, and really collaborate. if we really consider ourselves as a mentor, as an influencer, as a leader in the community or in our homes, then we're going to want to apply questions like this or scenario 2. Scenario 2 is what I call the value investing formula. It's those times where maybe you've got that person that comes to you and they've got a real big challenge that they're facing, and they're just kind of confiding in you. Or for some of us, we've got that person who always comes to us with their victim story. That victim story. If you ever know someone like that, just type in the word me. I know someone like that. For some of us, it's like, yeah, that's me. I'm that person telling that victim story. And this is a great formula, the Curious 5 value investing formula, that helps us to invest in them in a way that opens up their mind to greater solutions. Sounds like quite a few of you know someone like that. So simply, the value investing formula is a series of non-judgmental questions. It's designed to help someone grow and become more resourceful while finding valuable solutions. And it also helps me because I don't have to find the solutions. I just have to have the right questions. That's all. You're going to see a few of these bullet points that are similar to our Know You to Grow You section. First off, invitation of safety. So in this section, I might simply say, hey, can I support you through this current challenge? May I ask you a couple questions? This is just a great way to invite them into the possibility of moving into solutions. Now, if for whatever reason they are not in the state of mind to work through solutions, maybe they're really worked up at that moment, or whatever they did, the challenge is affecting you negatively and you're worked up, that might not be the right time to sit down and invest in them at that point. We maybe get, again, when our mind is in a state of fear, it is in survival mode and it's triggered just lower level thinking. We want a lot of creative thinking in this moment and collaborative thinking. And that's why we want to make sure it's the right moment. So invitation and safety helps us to get there, as well as question number 1, which is just simply starting with the positive. Hey, tell me what's new and good. Like, we're going to get to this challenge, but tell me what's good and wonderful happening in your life right now. And again, many of you, if you had $1 for every time you heard that question come out of my mouth, woo, you'd have your own island. I'm sure of that, right? So it's just starting on the positive. What it does is get their mindset out of the problem and into the possibility of what life looks like either on the other side of the problem or what it looked like before the problem. Just starting with the positive. And I work with people for months and months and months and years, clients I've had for years. And even now, sometimes when I start my coaching with, hey, what's wonderful and good in your life? They're still like, oh boy, okay, I knew the question was coming and now I got to think. It just gets us in the right frame of mind though. Once they come up with an answer, it's easy peasy. Question number 2, just like we did in the Know You to Grow You, we're going to open up with some kind of prompting question. Now at this point, I like to go 2 different routes. Either one, I'll ask them something about a goal, dream, or desire. Even though they're currently in a challenge, I want to get them thinking beyond the challenge to some kind of goal. So I might ask them something like, hey, where are you wanting to go in your career? Before we work on that challenge, what's an area where you'd like to grow, or set an outrageous goal? Or where would you like to get a breakthrough? So that would be one area I would go for prompting questions, or I might just spearhead the problem or challenge. And that's where I'd ask a question like, hey, what's the challenge you've currently tried to solve and it's not really worked that we can take a look at today? So that's another version of that question. And don't worry if you're like, oh, I didn't get all that question, Doug. Like, why aren't you putting this on the slide? Because it's in the downloadable. It's a 17-page, over 100 questions there for you to quickly just use the question, customize the questions that work best for you. Really excited about that, can you tell? So moving from question number 2, we get an idea of where they want to go, what the challenge is that's stopping them. And then we move to question 3, is we start helping them find recognition in the patterns that show up for them. Again, it's not my job to say, well, gosh, if you just stop doing this, then you'd be fine. I can approach them with much more influence and care and value if I just simply ask a question. It could be something like, hey, from what you shared with me, in your opinion, what do you notice that's working? And what do you notice that's not? So it's a very simple question that helps them to start recognizing, well, I know that every time I hit a snooze on my alarm clock, that my days don't go as well. Okay, well, what do you notice that does work? Well, it's when I really take good care of myself and plug some of those energy holes in my life that I've noticed things really start working. So that's a good pattern recognition question. From there, we can actually take it to finding solutions. So finding solution questions could be, hey, what could you do differently next time? If you were to rewind back and do something new and different, relive this experience, what would you choose differently? Knowing that you can't change any other part of the situation. You can't change others, but you can change your response. How would you choose to respond differently? And it's simple and powerful question that I don't have to tell you what to do. You start coming up with your own solutions. And then I move to question number 5, and that's implementation. I know we have 5 minutes, just 5 minutes here as a curious 5, the 5-to-1 ratio. What happens if timer is up? I'm on question 3 and I have run out of 5 minutes. What do? Hopefully you keep investing. What happens if you have a 7-to-1 ratio where you are investing 7 minutes in them and then at the end you have 1 minute for yourself? What happens? Heaven forbid if we invest 15-to-1 or 30-to-1. There are some of my coaching appointments that I spend 55 out of the 60 minutes asking curious questions. And at the tail end, I'm like, well, are you open to some solutions? Oh, that was a question. Are you open to some possible action items? And then I start sharing action items that I've been gathering throughout the entire visit. In fact, today, I'm going to leave you with some suggestions for action items for you to immediately implement what you're learning here today. So pull up your pants, get ready to do this thing. All right, so the fifth and final question, after I get them thinking about how they can implement this in their lives, and primarily it'd be a question like, hey, how can you implement what you talked about here today? Just something small. I love putting the 5-minute time on it. Okay, great. Based off of what you said, what is something you could do that takes less than 5 minutes to start to work on that solution? Silly. 5 minutes, we all have 5 minutes, right? So cool. And then from there, of course, we want to wrap things up with validating, helping them feel seen, a vote of confidence. Just, you know what, you've got this. Or, man, it sounds like this is a big one, but it also sounds like you've got some really good clarity on it. What can I do to support you? Or have you thought of, and you start sharing maybe some possibilities of some advice there. All right? Now, once again, if any of you feel like, wow, Curious 5, value investing formula, I can really use that. Even with yourself, this is a great time to once again go into that chat window, push the heart button, be like, yep, I love this, I can use this. This is something I can apply. That's what I want for you in these webinar trainings. Plug and play realness that is something that I use. Not only it's like, oh, this is a good idea, but I use this on a day-to-day basis. What I've shown to you right now is part of the exact coaching system that I teach my leaders, my executives, other professional coaches that are running a coaching business. And I've used what I share with you today to help hundreds accomplish outrageous goals for themselves. It's actually one of the key secrets that I share with my students for my Academy, Coach Lead Grow Academy. In my level 1 and level 2 course, it's all about arming my coaches and leaders and influencers in the community with quality questions to help them to influence the people in their lives. Whether it's a paying client, whether it's their child, whether they're in a network marketing business and they really need to inspire others. So what you just learned here is something I just pulled right out of the files of my own coaching handbook. And I want to take a moment and just recap a few things before I share with you the opportunity here for that freebie, all right? So just to recap, when people talk about themselves, they feel safe and they like you more. They feel like you value them. It's simple. When we invest in the things we value, we invest in our car, our house, our family, our health, anything we value, we invest time, energy, and money into. And when we invest in someone, they feel valued and valuable. And when they feel valued, they feel safe. And this is the number one key to building rapport with others. And as a bonus here, people buy from people they like. We want to buy from our friends. And that's a critical piece for anybody who's influencing anyone. So to utilize that curiosity and invest in others, simply invest in others 5-to-1, at least the 5-to-1 ratio. And you'll be amazed at what you find out in as simple as 5 minutes, investing in someone else. Remember, again, it's 5 minutes of quality questions, 2 seconds before asking the next question in that 5-minute time frame. Once the timer is up, and please don't set a timer and then have it go off in the middle of your conversation. It's just a mental note of, I just want to invest that much more in the people in my life. 1 minute, validate, suggestions. And then, of course, the Curious 5, I must know you to grow you. Simple steps here, something that if we just follow in our minds and have a few powerful questions in our back pocket, we'll really be amazed in what we find out. And then lastly, the Curious 5, the value investing formula. In fact, this very formula, I taught to a group of 250 executives in a large keynote speaking event. And it was amazing. I gave them a little card takeaway of the steps. And this is something I'll encourage you to print out what you're going to get here today. Because that little card I saw riddled all over the office, sitting at people's desks here. It's amazing when we focus on the things that we really value and how to invest in them. And that's the biggest part. Most of us just don't know how, right? And so answer me this question. Will what you learned today help you increase your level of influence in others? If that is true, type in the word yes. So in the chat window, if you feel like what you learned, and it's fine if it's no, if it was just like, man, I really just enjoyed watching the show, that's cool. But if you're a professional coach, today, was it really worth your time? As a parent, could you utilize some of the things you're learning here today with others? I'm saying like, oh yeah, yes. Will this help you to connect more with others? Could you even possibly invest in yourself utilizing these questions? Pretty cool stuff, right? And the show is always great too. Thank you, Lamonti. And so another question here. I know we had a limited amount of time, but given the time we had, did we do a good job on delivering what I said I would deliver on? Did I do a good job? If so, again, give me a thumbs up on that. If you feel like, man, that was exactly what I wanted. And then here's my question again. What's stopping us from investing more time and energy in our relationships? And the answer now, it's not, I didn't know what the questions are. I didn't know how to do it. It's simply just 5 minutes, taking the time. Oh, I love the validation. Thank you. I'm glad I'm fulfilling your expectations today. I really appreciate that. So think about this. There should be no excuses at this point of what's stopping you from being more influential with the people that you care about in your life. And so today, if I could take just a brief moment here, I want to share with you a little bit of the sneak peek of what I shared with you earlier today, coming attractions. A week from today, I'm doing another training webinar. It's just me sharing my favorite coaching tools. This is what you learned here today is a great plug-in to what I will be sharing with you a week from now. This tool helps me to understand on a deeper psychological level why people do and don't do what they do. Understanding this and being able to engineer it helps me to help get and support people from point A to point Z in their life. And that's my job, is to help people to get more of what they want. It's called the 5 Vital Steps to Results. Immediately following this webinar, if you stay on, once the webinar is done, it's going to forward you to a registration window that you can register for the event. I wanted to make it super easy on you, all right? You'll notice today's event on there, just this evening's, just for anybody else who was registering last moment. But other than that, you'll see the 2 future events. And stay tuned, bookmark that tab, because they'll always be adding new podcasts with guest speakers as well as training webinars on that tab. And that tab itself is coachleadgrow.com/training-events. Once again, if you just stay on your browser window, I'll automatically forward you to that window, easy peasy. All right. So those are some of the secrets that help us to, I call it jailbreaking affirmations, because the truth is, affirmations don't work unless you know how the mind operates. And I'm going to be sharing with you a few of the secrets to jailbreaking affirmations, instead of them becoming counterproductive to the people you're working with and yourself, and how to help them, instead of those affirmations sabotaging you, they'll actually help become your greatest allies. We're going to be talking about that and sharing with you some really cool strategies that you can use and questions that will help fuel what you've learned here today. Now, if you yourself know a professional coach, a mentor, an executive, a personal life coach, a career coach, authenticity coach, or even somebody that wants to level up their leadership, not necessarily a manager, but somebody who wants to level up their leadership and they're ready to jump ponds into a greater pond of tools and opportunities, August 19th, I am really excited to be announcing the launch of Coach Lead Grow Academy. And level 1 is launching. It's a 13-week course. It's a certification course that certifies you as one of my coaches. If you want to collaborate with me in the future, this is the route to take. In this course over 13 weeks, you're going to learn the 7 simple steps to blasting any barrier and achieving any goal. It's the same 7 steps that I use with my paying executive clients right here, right now. If also you want to avoid some of the biggest mistakes that new leaders and rookie coaches make, that they don't really know what to do, this is where I'm going to share with you some of the biggest challenges that I have faced and the simple solutions to help you to ski right past them, right? I'm also going to tell you the top 3 reasons why I've seen that most coaches and leaders fail. So the truth is, when I'm working with leaders and managers and executive front, I teach leaders in the executive level how to be great coaches. It's critical for their success and influence in helping productivity accelerate in the workplace. I'm going to tell you another secret. When I'm working with professional coaches, personal development coaches, I'm teaching them how to be phenomenal leaders because they've got to level up their leadership as well if they want to bring on new clients and influence more individuals in their lives. Same system, plug and play. I'm really excited about this. I'm using some really cool technology, some really cool bonuses that you'll want to stay tuned for. If you want more information, if you signed up today's webinar, you may be on my email list as long as you check the box that was cool. If to guarantee your results, you just want to log into the next webinar a week from today, I'm going to give you some more details on that, and that way you're on the edge of you'll be one of the first to know about this opportunity as it launches. But it's August 19th is when we launch. You'll get more details in a week. So I'm excited about that. All right. So thank you for letting me take a moment to share. Now it's time to give your pen a rest, or maybe your keyboard if you've been typing notes. It's time for me to share with you that 5-minute coaching guide. Again, the questions that I use and have used today with paying clients to help them to get more of what they want. If you want this downloadable guide, simply type in the box, give it to me, or bring it. Bring it. There we go. Bring it. If you want this guide, now is the time. Now, I have it on a website that you can go to, and basically, I just need to know where you want me to send the downloadable to. But again, I love making things easy. So I'm going to bring up a pop-up window. Now, that's going to bring you to another browser tab. That's okay. Keep listening on in, because I have a couple of action items that will help you to take action on this. So you're going to see right now the free download for the 5-minute coaching guide pop up on your screen. If you're interested in downloading that, simply type in, get me that download. Over 17 pages, over 100 questions. And there's a whole section of this guide that I love that teaches you how to formulate your own questions. Like, it'll give you great lead-in lines and then directions you can go with that. My only ask of you is, as you use this with someone in the next 24 hours and you notice their response and notice the shift within them, I simply want you to email me. You don't have to, but email me, let me know how it went. And if you're willing to leave me a testimonial, I would absolutely love that. And so it looks like you're jumping on board. I love that. It's phenomenal. So let's talk about taking action now. So what do we got to do to take action? Once again, nothing will have changed the moment we log off here today. You just have a lot more information, and maybe we're entertained a little bit here today. Nothing will have changed unless you agree to take action. So here is my first encouragement of you here today is invest in yourself. Download the 5-minute coaching guide. Take 5 minutes just to read through as much as you can, and then start circling or highlighting or put a check mark box next to at least 5 questions that you can test out with someone this week. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes, read through it, mark a few questions, however far you can get here. It's fun. There's a lot of pictures in it. So I think you can get through most of it. At least if you invested 10 minutes, you get through the whole thing easy peasy. Pretty phenomenal stuff. So that's number 1. If you're in on this, go ahead and put the number 1 in the box. All right. Number two. Now I want you to get to know someone in your life. Now, if right now the little pop-up window of getting that download is still in the middle of the screen, you can actually click a little button that says close, and it will just close down. So you can see more of this little slide. Number 2 is I want you to get to know someone in your life a little bit better by just 5 minutes, 5-to-1 ratio, 5 minutes of quality questions, 2-second of pause between their response and your next question, and then 1 minute of validation. This could be somebody that's new to you in your life. It could be a new coworker. It could also be someone that you've known for years. Use some of the questions that you now have read at that point on the 5-minute coaching guide and directly apply what you've learned. Now, if that's something that's interesting to you, simply put a 2 in the box and say, I'm in. You're forming agreements. This is being recorded. And I can now say, hey, Carol Lee, did you do what you said you were going to do? Now you know. Bonnie, you're going to do that. Lamont's going to do it. Kurt's going to do it. Tyler's going to do it. We're in. Awesome. I got a bonus. Number 3, bonus value here. Now take the section on the value investing formula and apply it to someone in your life, either professional or personal. Use the questions, take 5 minutes and help someone through a challenge or move towards a goal or dream in their life. That's what an influencer does. That's what someone who is a master of influence, a leader, does in the community and at home and at work. And if you're up for the challenge, for the bonus points, simply put the number 3 in the chat window and you're in. All right. So I'm excited for you. It could be the same person that you do the get to know you along with the value investing formula. Do whatever works best for you. But then pay attention to how they respond to you after this conversation. It's pretty exciting stuff. So once again, once we are done, immediately after we close up this webinar, you'll be forwarded into the registration page for next week's 5 vital steps to results. I've got one midday, and then we're going to do it again at 6:30 at night. For those who may not have a flexible day schedule, maybe you could just do it at your lunch or come to both. That's a great opportunity for you to really digest what we're going to be jumping into. And afterwards, I'll take an opportunity to really share with you some really exciting stuff that's coming down the pipeline. So I look forward to seeing you in a week from now. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me personally. If this was something that was valuable and worth your time, feel free to share this with someone else that you feel like could really benefit from some quality questions. All right, so if you have any questions, reach out to me. Here in a moment, we're going to be ending the session. Again, thank you for valuing yourself and investing in yourself today. Thank you for investing in me here today. This has been the 5-Minute Coaching Solution. Have a phenomenal rest of the week. I'll see you next week.